Hi fellow readers! So I hope after my French video was just filmed, I'm not good looking, I guess. I noticed only at the end when I was rewatching the video that I zoomed in a lot actually this time. Not all of my head was visible on camera. I hope it's a bit better. If not, I'm gonna try the maximum to be far away, back against my back of the armchair. Anyway. So we are here yet again for another kind of video for you today. I am going to speak to you about two books that are one volume each, and there's no following ones, sequels, at least not now. And I will start this video about the standalones, that I either read and or didn't like, by two that I actually did like or made me feel emotional. And I recommend them for different reasons that you will quickly discover during this viewing. I have these two novels in paperback. One is a bit old and was donated and given to me by my mother, and the other she bought it for me last year when I saw an ad for it on Insta, because now the algorithm pretty much know what I'm into. So I will start probably the one that I would almost designate as my favorite book if I had to choose right now. Usually that's why I answer, because it's the first one that actually made me feel giddy and all kinds of butterflies in the stomach, because I was because of some scene, some declaration, some intense moment during the climax between the secondary male protagonist, male character, male love interest, and the protagonist. I will get into that later on, and I'm actually gonna say the name this time of this book, and in English this is The Host. So it got only one volume. I have it right here. I have the French version. The Host is pretty similar. I believe it was published in 2008, so the cover is pretty much similar, except that the eye thingy is a bit bluer than redder. Yeah, you can see the state of the book is not perfect. It's been old, it's been reread, it's yellow on the pages. It's 830 pages actually. I didn't know I could read that much back then, but hey, I really loved it. That's the book that I know. Oh, I'm gonna go to search for her later, because I need her for the rest of the video. You'll understand soon enough. Teasing, always teasing. That's the best way to optimize watch time, my watch time. I'm sorry about my bad English. So about The Host, normally it was announced to be a trilogy, because then when I was on Goodreads, because I was trying to find all the books I've already read and liked and to give them 5 stars, I've went for The Host, and then I noticed the grey thingy on top of the title, and that usually means that this is part of a series, and if you click on that grey link you can have all the rest of the books of the series. And I was like, what have I missed for 10 years? The sequels? Am I that dumb? No, I was not. Actually, it was only announced and never actually written by the author, Stephanie Meyer. Please, you are ready to give 12 years later another version of Twilight from the point of view of Edward. Really? We don't need that. We need to know what was in your mind for what would follow this story that is The Host. What a waste. Anyway, so I said it came out in 2008, but I read them when I was 10. If I did in 2008, I would be 6, so I probably waited a few years, yes, before. I remember it was before middle school, because I had read several other books that made me feel like some butterflies and some kind of that made me giggle or just shake my feet in the air like a little girl that falls in love with fictional characters, because this one was actually the first one that got me into that state, and so that's why I believe I read it probably at the end of primary school. I have reread countless of times since then. My favorite passage, mostly, but usually all those scenes that concerns like my favorite part of that love romance triangle. It's not really a triangle, it's even more like a square, but it's complicated. You'll understand why when I'll tell you about the summary. So yeah, it's a bit of an enemies to lovers. There's also forced proximity. It is a sci-fi and dystopian, pretty much romance novel. And yeah, when Stephanie Meyer wrote this, she already wrote, I believe, Twilight, which was like a paranormal romance between a human and a vampire, so a mythical creature of the past, usually in the stories of the past. And this time she did the same thing, but with a creature of the future. Usually in stories we talk about them coming for later on, not already in the past, except if you're a theorist guy. So I'm talking about aliens. To summarize, Melanie was the last human, like one of the last humans. She protected her little brother, and she was finding a way to survive amongst this world that was actually invaded by aliens, but like in an unsimilar way to what we used to in the idea of invasion, alien invasion. So actually the aliens are kind of little bug thingy of light that are a bit fragile and do not survive very well on their own. So on each planet they've went and visited, and actually sometimes even decided to take land and actually live there. They have to inhabit a body, a host, you understand the title, that is a living creature that already lived on the planet. And usually they take only the corpses of the dead, because they don't want to take lives. They are pacifist alien. So when they came to Earth, that we don't know how so many humans have died, because I don't know if actually the aliens, like, maybe I should reread this because it's starting to be a long time now. And I don't know if it's because the aliens, the first ones are soldiers, actually disseminated other humans to inhabit the bodies with their people, or if like there was a huge thing and many humans died or whatever. So Melanie was captured by one of the inhabited humans by aliens, and while she tried to escape because she didn't want to give info on what she knew, meaning her little brother and actually her lover being somewhere safe, she killed herself. So they took the body and they put inside a soul, that's how they call themselves, but they're actually aliens, but you know, they're souls somehow, because they need a body, but they are some sort of essence, conscience kind of thingy. And so this one, usually she calls herself Wanderer, even though before in the other planets they didn't need a name, since they have a new way of actually communicating, which is speaking like we are right now. I believe that they had to come up with some names, and Wanderer was her name, because she was one of the oldest souls that went into so many planets but never actually stayed on any of them, because she never felt at home, I believe. And they kind of need her to go into the memories of the body to tell them how did that human survive, and if there's others. And of course, when she tries to look for it, actually Melanie is conscious and she's still in there, and she's like, nope, you cannot stop it. And she speak to her in her own mind, and she's like, you need to leave my body, I don't want you here. But then Wanderer is like, you're supposed to be dead, I don't understand, this is not supposed to be happening. And they beef a lot about what they should do, and at some point they end up escaping this whole center community, this whole downtown, because it is too habited by too many souls, so aliens, and so they go into some sort of canyon or something like that, in sort of desert in America, because of course it's in North America. And they go to see, they get captured by the group of humans that actually includes her lover and her little brother. And when at first they recognize her, they soon notice that she has the eye thingy, that means that she's possessed by aliens. She has some sort of blue fluorescence around on the irises, around the black thingy in the eyes, in the middle. Just around that round there's a circle in fluorescent light. That means that you're possessed by a soul. And when they saw that, half of the humans of this camp are like, we need to kill her, and the other one is like, but it's still Melanie, maybe we can get this thing out of Melanie. And of course, when she do tell them that Melanie is still in there, she's not dead, no one wants to kill her, and she's captured. And at first there was still when they didn't know, there was a kill attempt by some other guy called Jan. And sorry, I'm still like, that's my first fictional crush, I believe, or the first ship I was really into when I read. So they start to actually give her some sort of responsibility amongst the camp, because she cannot stay here and get fed if she she does nothing that's not useful. And they soon notice that Wanderer, that they will nickname Wanda, I believe, is actually quite nice. She's pacifist, she doesn't hurt anybody, she's caring and all, and she's very compassionate, curious about everything. And they soon become attached to even the soul. And even inside, Melanie and her being cohabiting in the same body makes them closer, and they actually start understanding each other, even though there's some kind of jealousy, because Wanda kind of doesn't see the difference between what she feels and what Melanie feels when there's Jared, her lover. So Melanie is a bit jealous when she spends time with Jared, but at the same time she doesn't like when she's getting closer to Jan, because she's like, no, I'm only for Jared, and this is my body. You can do whatever if you went to some other's body, but you're in my body. I don't want him to like this body. And that's a bit complicated. That's like a love square, but not really. So yeah, I kind of like that. That was original, because she did a poorly written love triangle, Stephanie Meyer in Twilight, but in this that was kind of well done, because you understood why each of these persons like the others. So I really liked the bond between Melanie and Wanda at the end. I liked Jan and Wanda. Jared, I didn't like it that much, because I wasn't the story is from the point of view of Wanda and not of Melanie. If I was into the point of view of Melanie, I guess I'm happy if they're together. I was just like, Wanda needs to just back off of Jared, that would be cheating otherwise. And there's Jan, who is pretty rough on her at first, but actually kind of warms up to her, and was one of the first one to notice Wanda and not Melanie as Wanda, as a soul, as someone that is someone, even though it's not from this earth. There was a film adaptation in 2013. It was pretty good, not as good. So even if it was 5 years after the publishing of the book. The book must have been pretty good too, because yes, so many people have watched the movie, but it is not like one of the greatest. It is a classic of like the 2010s, being a dystopian thingy, you know, that was like on trend back then. But even I that loves this book, I was a bit of a letdown. Even my favorite passage was like in the movie, but it's a pretty good movie, so I won't completely bash it. It was really kind of good. Okay, then let's move on to the book that I bought as a Marvel fan. Here's the proof. I'm gonna show you with the editing some of my pictures in my rooms that concern the Marvel world. I have few pops, like I said the last time, I have the comic books. Anyway, I love the MCU, and especially, and you'll see with the photos I have, Gamora. And I'm gonna pick up the pop I let fall sooner. Oh no, she's messed up now. She's got black thingy here. But that's my pop, that's Gamora, and she's my favorite character in MCU, especially the ones before Infinity War. And after Infinity War I was a wreck because of her. And actually I want to make the pop here, let the pop here because I need the book. So I'm gonna talk about this book called Gamora and Nebula, Sisters at Home. Concerning this specific storyline, there's only one book. It's a standalone, but the author, I believe Mackenzie Lee, wrote other Marvel anti-heroes stories that are on my TBR, but for very much later in my life, because it is not my priority, as they are not my favorite anti-heroes. They're the ones that so many people fangirls over. I think they're a bit overrated now, because it is Winter Soldier and Loki, and when this book about those two came out, I was like, oh, such underrated baddies, I need to have it, because I'm already a bit of a fan of Gamora. And of course that means that with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 I started to like Nebula, because I like the relationship between the two. And she's kind of the reason why you know, in Infinity War. Okay, so the book came out in 2021, but I read it only in September 2022, I guess a few months after my mom bought it for me. And that's one of the reasons I started rereading. It was the beginning of my reread, so I read it in 15 days, because it is what, 32 chapters, but also, yeah, almost 400 pages. It was a bit of a chunk for me at the time, because I was just starting again reading, and that was not an easy return, but we came through. And also because I was a bit of a letdown for like the first half of the book. I was like, no, this is only about that, this book is only about that, that's a bit boring. So it is a science fiction, because they are both aliens, you can see it, and it is about the sisters Bond, I believe. They're kind of adopted sisters, but you know, the trauma and all, and also being underrated baddies, I believe. Well, not that underrated in that word, because yeah, they're pretty much known for their reputation of killers and daughters of Thanos. So it is like the backstory of the two, I believe, like maybe a year or so before Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie. And I'm watching over there because there's my poster that I will edit in this video of the first movie. And Nebula is not on it, but we know, if you've watched the several other Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, she becomes kind of a main character and a guardian, as well as an Avenger, I believe, by extension. It explains both the two sisters' character in the first movie and in the last movie. Now that I've watched it, I can say so, spoiler alert. So to summarize, it is about Gamora's mission to do something because she's been employed by someone, and her dad is like, make me proud. So she's like, I need to make him proud. Everything she does all her life, all her fights and all, it is to impress him, and it is to stay the favorite. And this one, she wants to impress her father, but she never does so, and she kind of expects her sister to like not be so harsh on her, to get a chance to at least be recognized by her father, but she doesn't help because she doesn't see it. And if she did show some sort of compassion for her sister, she believes her father would be worse to them. So Nebula kind of doesn't see that side of Gamora, and she's all like, this isn't fair, I don't deserve to be treated that way. I know we're not sisters by blood, but we share the same father and the same kind of experience. We should at least bond and help each other. And she just lost her arm, this arm here, because of Gamora, because she didn't help last time she tried to impress her father and did something stupid, and Gamora kind of did a lesson, a moral lesson, instead of helping out. And because her father said, you need to do this on your own, you put me to shame or something, Gamora wanted to help, but she knew that if she did, her father would be mad, so she didn't. And then so Nebula is at the whole beginning of this book, during the dual pose of Nebula and Gamora. During the pose of Nebula, she's like, I need to get my revenge, I'm tracking her down, I'm gonna kill her, like the beginning also of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And meanwhile, Gamora doesn't know. She's like, I'm doing my own thing, I haven't seen Nebula in a while because, well, Nebula is probably dealing with her own stuff. And so the first half of this book, like what I'm talking about right here, it was long, it was a bit boring at times. I love Gamora, but that's not what I love in the Marvel universe. Like I said, I'm very much into relationships, so when they're doing their own thing solo, I'm like, ugh. But then they meet. At first, of course, they clash, but they somehow talk, and for a while I love the fact that it actually feels like their sister, like they're putting all of their differences behind and become a duo, and I love that. It felt so. And of course the ending, the plot twist that explains why Nebula is the way she is in the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, and also why Gamora becomes now this person that is compassionate and wants to save and talks about honor, wants to save the universe. Nebula becomes this bitter person at the end, that she was already at the bit of the beginning, but that was like out of anger in the moment, but she soon passes it. Now at the end of the book, it is official, like she's really become this person, because of her father and her sisters by mistake. So I'm not gonna spoil too much, but yeah, there's a big betrayal because of Thanos manipulation, and both Nebula and Gamora realize like how messed up their whole life is. So Gamora is, of course, like we saw in the movie, trying to backstab Thanos, while Nebula is like, I don't care anymore about Thanos specifically, I just want to kill everyone that comes in my way, and especially even if he doesn't want me to kill Gamora, I will take my revenge one day. So here we are, and I really love this bond of sisterhood. I really love to see how they come to be, their origins, their backstory, but also like I was an emotional wreck by the end because of the betrayal kind of thingy that I will not speak about, but also because I realized that most of these books, they spend time kind of fighting each other when they don't really want to, and it's such a waste of their time. And because of the ending of Infinity War, I was like only thinking about that when I read it. I was like, she doesn't live anymore, or at least the Gamora that we have now in The Last Guardian that came back from the past because of the time travel thingy, is not the Gamora that met the Guardians. She's this Gamora before she even thought about, I don't know, becoming good. so it's a bit harsh to see how their relationship was in The Last Guardians of the Galaxy, how they switched roles, because Gamora become this bitter, this bit harsh person, and Nebula this still like neutral faced person, but at least like inside she's so caring. They both are. That's the thing that Thanos couldn't swivel out of them. Also, the book is very much comic inspired, because I believe that in the comics the reason why Thanos collects the Infinity Stone is to please Death, literal Death, because he wants to charm her, he's into her. And in the books she's mentioned several times as a character, and she's kind of scaring Nebula off and everything. So yeah, I believe it is a bit more inspired by the comic books, but it is still MCU canon, I believe. So I think I'm about done with all of this. I will put back in order all of that later on. So if you don't know these science fiction novels yet, and you think you're nerd enough to kind of be able to enjoy them, don't hesitate. I recommend those for you, and especially if you're a sensitive reader like me that likes to cry a lot at the ending. Although I recommend for the book about Gamora and Nebula to watch a bit of the movies, yes. On this last advice, it is time for me to go back to my Kindle. I wish you to have good readings, and meanwhile fellas, see you next time. Bye.